Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with an absolutely gorgeous new recording of sacred music by Spanish Renaissance composer Cristóbal de Morales. Oh my goodness, is this guy terrific. Now, Morales was the most famous Spanish composer before Tomás Luis de Victoria. And he lived from, roughly, kind of conveniently, 1500 to 1553-ish. As always with these people, some of the dates get a little bit fuzzy. He wrote 22 masses, 18 Magnificat settings, a bunch of other sacred works, and De Profundis, the British choral group, which specializes in music from the Iberian Peninsula of the Renaissance, is going to do a projected 12-disc series of Morales, including the complete masses. That will be a serious undertaking. He was a major, wonderful, marvelous composer. I know, those adjectives again. How to describe what his music sounds like? Well, De Profundis sings it at what they think is correct pitch, which tends to be a little lower than we often hear in this repertoire. It's a bit like the English school of like Thomas Tallis and Fairfax and John Tavener and those people, except that although it's very elaborate and very virtuosic, it doesn't have those high soprano lines, those treble lines. It tends to be darker and richer and sort of more harmonically dense. It's incredibly beautiful and extremely exciting in places. I mean, there are moments let me just tell you what we have here and you'll get it. First, you get the Missa Mille regretz, a thousand regrets. It's what it is. It's based on a chanson, a song by Josquin called Mille Regrets. And this masses come in sort of two flavors. We've talked about this before. They're sort of cantus firmus masses in which the melody is used in long notes in the lower voices normally as the basis for the composition, with the other voices sort of floating and decorating around it in original contrapuntal lines. Then there is the parody mass, which may take an entire piece and redesign it with the new words of the mass, because the original chanson is a secular piece. Morales doesn't do either. It's so wonderful. He does both. Let's put it that way. He does a little of everything. He writes cantus firmus masses in which the cantus is floating around in the different voices. It's not just like on the bottom or in one voice in long notes. And he uses the tune of Mille Regrets quite frequently throughout Mille Regrets. And it's a 6-voice mass, which is dense, 6 parts going. Once they all get going, it's quite complex and incredibly, I don't know how to describe the word. It's really exciting in its way. I mean, it's not exciting like, Wagner is exciting, or Puccini. It's exciting in the density and intensity of the contrapuntal interweaving of the voices. And in fact, in this disc, which is 80 minutes long and sensationally sung, I mean, De Profundis is really a terrific group. They're conducted by Robert Hollingworth and Eamonn Dougan, by the way. Anyway, you get not just all of Mille Regrets, but you get versions from the first printed edition, including the Sanctus Benedictus and Agnus Dei. And let me tell you, you wonder why he bothered to revise it, because those deleted bits or revised bits are fantastic. The Hosanna in those revised bits. I mean, it is the closest thing you will ever get to hearing the beating of angels' wings. Trust me when I tell you, it's extraordinary and just exalted. And, some people say that makes it spiritual. I mean, I don't believe that music is spiritual, but that's okay. I mean, other people do, and it sounds the same either way, whatever you call it. It is what it is. It's just fantastic. So that's that. Then we get his first Magnificat, the Magnificat primi toni. Primi toni is the the modal scale on D. In case you're curious, that's 11 minutes of loveliness. And then we have another mass, the Missa Desilde al cavallero, which is, hey, gentlemen, don't worry, I'm still hanging out with you. That's basically what the words are. You get the anonymous chanson, the song that goes with it, and then you get that mass, which is for 4 voices. So it's less dense. And also, in this performance, they use an organ accompaniment, which is sort of the latest scholarly thinking. It used to be that whenever you heard this Renaissance music, it was all done the same way in a very austere, totally unaccompanied mode. Now, Morales was a singer in the Papal Chapel, and in the Papal Chapel, the music was performed a cappella, without instruments, because instruments were banned in the Papal Chapel. They were evil. They were the work of Satan, or something like that. Whatever. Anyway, so in this case, outside of the Papal Chapel and elsewhere, you could use an instrument to double or even substitute for one of the vocal parts. And so they have an organ part in there, which I think is rather nice. So that gives us 80 minutes of music, which is really well contrasted, because you have a 6-voice mass unaccompanied, a 4-voice mass with instruments. You have 2 chansons, which are played with a lute or vihuela or one of those guitar-like objects, sung, in the way it was performed back in the day, presumably. And then you have the Magnificat in the middle, which is in a lot of short little sections. And to make even greater variety, even in these large-scale works, the 6-voice mass, there are moments where, the number of parts is reduced to 3, and there are soloists who sing individual lines. So there's a lot of textural variety. But that doesn't change the fact that Morales, who was apparently a real bastard and had a lot of problems keeping jobs and getting along with people, his music is very, very virtuosic and complex, elaborate and rich, harmonically rich, rich in counterpoint, rhythmically interesting. It's just got everything going for it. And so you really, really want to hear De Profundis sing these 2 masses, and get started now so you can collect the entire edition when, hopefully, it all gets released over the next however many years it's going to take. I'm really looking forward to it, because this is hot stuff. Really hot stuff. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.